We try and compartmentalize fear, right? Fear that's justifiable, fear that's not justifiable, fear that belongs to this special group, fear that belongs to this special group. Here's the one thing that I will tell you: emotion unifies all human beings, regardless of their age, sex, color, race, what country you're born in.
Yeah.
Fear is something that we come with.
Yeah.
And fear is something that that unfortunately we're not overcoming. We're just using it in a really inappropriate way. And so, like, I just listened to you talk about, you know, the Black Lives Matter issue and the fear, and they have every right to be fearful because, you know, their reason for being fearful is because they're black and because they've been suppressed. And my reason for being fearful is because I'm a woman and I've been suppressed. Your reason for being fearful is because you're a white man, and now people are pissing all over your thing because you people, by and large, have been the instigators. Yeah. Of much violence. So you see, with each and every group, fear is the common denominator, and it looks pretty much the same on everybody, regardless of their age. If you strike a child, they will cry. Mm-hmm. The sound of their cry will probably sound pretty close to the child in Ethiopia, the child in America, the child in Greenland, mm-hmm. right? Hit them hard enough, slice them all, and their blood will run red, you know? And so this is where I look at fear. The way we structure our society, it's all based on fear. Yeah. How we control people, all based on it's like anything. You cannot reach, I think, your greatest potential if fear is the only driving factor. Right? Fear will keep you in mourning. Will not, you know, when we say the final stage of mourning is acceptance. And then the next word is adapt. Accept and then adapt. I often say that in the 5 stages of grief, people get stuck somewhere between the first 4 stages and never really move on into acceptance because they find coping mechanisms that are not necessarily conducive to healing. They're just coping mechanisms to bypass. To move the entire situation to a different direction, really the question is if we are just using anger, and by the way, anger and fear, same thing, just a slightly higher vibration of that, or a less polarizing. Fear is very polarizing, and anger is, at first, anger is like the shot of adrenaline that sets the rocket off, but eventually it loses momentum. All because no one can maintain that level of anger. Yeah. We can try, I know, I've tried, but it just doesn't, it dies. So now the next question is what will come as a result? Because often the riots get deferred by gunshot, by military coming in, so more suppression, and then going back into what's the first thing we do when we're exhausted? We seek for what we know. And if what we know is the fear program, then that is exactly what we're going to go back to. You know, there's a transition in anything in life, and during that transition, you know, even if you take a look at a wave, right? Yeah. It's tumultuous until it hits the shore and just kind of, and then create certain designs in the sand. But not before you've had that, right? So human emotions are very much the same way when we're talking about fear. That's a big thing. You can't avoid fear. You can pause fear through some kind of avoidance, like this, right? Like putting your hands on your ears, or playing music that makes you happy, or, you know, like I say, on the child level, these soothing things are probably going to be good. Just put on your favorite comedy, you know, your favorite sitcom or whatever. Just watch a funny movie to help sort of bring that down. Once that place has been brought down, the best way to talk about fear is when you're not in it. The best way to examine fear is when you're not in it. When human beings stay in the denial stage their entire lives, they end up dead from cancer or a heart attack or a stroke or mental insanity or insomnia or liver disease or drug overdoses, or like there's a one way to go from denial, so never having felt anything. Now that to me is denying your right to experience why you came here in the first place. To be a human being is to be an emotional being, to being a heart-focused being, to be able to connect to the world. You don't connect to the world here. You do superficially. But to be a parent, or like, you know, just when you have children, whatever, opening the heart center is the only way, and the heart feels all. The question is, if you're programmed to stay in denial and fear and anger, back to denial, fear, and anger, maybe a little bit of fear and then more anger and then some denial for a while and then move straight into anger and go back. If you're literally, that's the extent to which you have developed your emotional intelligence. And I think I pretty much just described 90% of people on the planet, to some degree. Fear comes back, first of all, mental note to self, because fear comes back again and again and again. Because ultimately what fear is ego. Ego vacillates between being vicious and suspicious, right? Victim consciousness. The world is held together because it's so powerful by fear. Or at least this model of it. It doesn't necessarily mean that's the way it has to be. And I think just becoming, when you recognize that fear, make no mistake about it, there'll be another one that comes. And I think that the best way to release fear is through self-grace, compassion. You're a human being, right? When you figured out, I didn't really actually need to be afraid of that. Look at that. Look what I can do, right? Then you pat yourself on the back. You give yourself grace. You forgive whatever sillinesses that you might be carrying with you. You go through a conscious exercise. And the funny thing is that it sounds really like, come on, really? You gotta go through all that trouble? It's like, yes. Go through all that trouble before you're 18 years of age and watch the kind of world that we will begin to have. People who move into power. People who are able to love themselves and who are able to forgive themselves are truly able to love and have compassion for others. Power is not having control over others. Power is having control over yourself.